Hello and welcome to the Mirrored Muse podcast. This is a sanctuary for the soul and a spark for the revolutionary spirit, where our truth is always reflected, our radiance remembered, and our spirit set free. I'm your host, Whitney Amber, and together we're going to journey into the depths of what it means to awaken, embody, and expand as the muse of our own life. Through soulful storytelling, raw reflections, guided practices, and revolutionary conversations, this podcast is here to truly meet you in your own becoming. So let's take a deep breath, soften our edges. It's time to step into the mirror. This is your invitation to rise. Okay, hello, friends. I am so honored that you have joined today's episode because this one is really special. This one is a tender mirror moment and the ultimate mirror moment, as today would have been my grandmother's 80th birthday. So today her spirit very much lives through this very episode on launch day of the Mirrored Muse podcast. So today's episode is named She Who Came Before Me, an absolute tribute to my muse. I called her Momoo. So I want to introduce to you all today Momoo. She is my muse, my fiercest mirror, even to this day. She was born on June 14th of 1945, and she transitioned in March of 2023. And what's really beautiful, before I kind of paint to you who she is to me, what's really beautiful, friends, is when she was here with us, my sister and I would go visit, and we would see her regularly, I would say, but not super often. She lived about 45 minutes away from where we lived, and then I moved to Nashville, and so I would try to see her when I would come into town and things like that. So we didn't get to see her super often, or I didn't, at least in the last few years that we had with her. And so when she transitioned, I was traveling for work. I was in a consultant role then, and I was in Philly with one of my friends, Rebecca, who, oh my God, I can remember this right now when I got the call, and I was devastated that I couldn't be with her, that I wasn't with her when she transitioned. So that's the sting, right? The bitter part of the sweetness, which the sweetness being, ever since she passed, two main things have happened. A, she's become way more present in my life, way more present in my life now than she ever was prior. I feel like she is with me literally every second of the day, and I feel her presence. But also the timing of her transition sparked the ultimate unrest, discomfort in my current career path then, which was consulting, and ultimately sparked this pull and nudge for me to step into a new path, which is using my voice, starting this podcast, and starting to use the evidence in my life with the presence of my Momoo, who I would absolutely consider an angel at this point. So there's spiritual evidence that follows my path of liberation. And liberation to me looks like me dropping the mask, dropping all these identities, stepping out of all of these boxes that I've had to be so small in my existence to fit in, that maybe other people wanted me in. Other people feel comfortable with me in these small boxes, but I didn't. So it's letting go. My liberation journey has been and still is this letting go of everything, all the expectations and everything that everyone else has told me to be, told me I should be. I've let go of all this external identity and really come back home to myself and am discovering, becoming this vibrant, way more authentic, beautiful version of myself. So Momoo is truly my muse. And she's the very one who sparked this whole journey for the last 2 years that has led me here on this day, releasing my voice into the world via the podcast, and simultaneously getting to honor her and the role that she plays in my life. So, who is Momoo? So Momoo's name, this is so interesting because it used to always confuse me as a kid. Her name, while we called her Momoo, her legal name was Billy Sue. Shote was her maiden name, and Peavy House was her married name. So most people back home knew her as Sue Peavy House. But I was always confused as a kid because Billy, being her first name, which she didn't go by, but Billy is a very masculine name in the U.S., given to a woman, followed by Sue, which is a very feminine name and the one she goes by. So I was always confused about that as a kid, but now I see so much beauty in what I now see as a full representation and embodiment of the balanced energies and aspects that every human holds, which is both masculine and feminine. We all carry these two energies within our being, within our existence. So how beautiful it is now to reflect back on her name, and even more so that caught my attention as a kid. So kind of a full circle moment and very beautiful. But yeah, that's her name, Sue Peavy House. She was born on this day in 1945. She was with us for many years, 78, right at it, a little shy of 78 years. And just an absolute firecracker. She wasn't a large woman. She was about medium size, but man, this woman packed a punch in her spirit, in her speech, and when she entered the room, you knew it. So it's so beautiful how she truly did embody the masculine and feminine very boldly. And I always loved how she embodied and embraced her gray hair. That wasn't the norm, and I definitely don't think it's the norm now, but she loved being in her older age. She never complained about being XYZ age, which I absolutely carry forward and feel to my core as well. But she always wore her hair in like a short, chic cut. She had small oval framed glasses. For the most part, her features in her face were pretty round. Her face, her eyes, her nose, her cheeks, everything was very round. And me and my sister would always joke because she tends to carry more physical attributes that reflect dad's side of the family. And while I still have some of those, mine for the most part are reflected more from my mom's side of the family. So physically, that was her vibe. She wore, oh my God, this woman wore flip-flops everywhere in every season. It didn't matter if it was the dead of winter. That's what felt best on her feet because they would tend to swell as she, in her later years, she went through the recovery process for 2 different hip surgeries. and just the circulation was not great, so her feet would swell. So she wore flip-flops everywhere. So it was always fun to see and to even try to find or purchase her all these different styles of flip-flops that would feel good on her feet. So that physically kind of describes who she is. Personality-wise, guys, just a firecracker, so fierce in the way that she loved. She very much was the sole provider financially, emotionally, spiritually, as much as possible in the role of mother that she played, and even in the marriage that she was a part of for so many years. She was the provider, and that was this masculine side of her. Hard worker, absolutely hard worker. And the amount of resilience this woman has and carries is just, it's overwhelming, to be honest, to think about it. And so, yeah, just super hard worker and very fierce in the way that she loved. Now, she may not be, super physically affectionate, but you felt the love that she had for you. And she would tell you too. And as she would tell you, she would tell you how she felt about you. She would tell you what was on her mind. This is a woman who never held back her voice, in my experience. Now, childhood and before I was in the world, maybe, but in what I experienced with her, never. You did not have to question or ask how she was feeling or what she was thinking. She would let you know. And if you were in search of any kind of opinion, Momoo was one to go to, because she would let you know. And I love so much that memory and that core part of her that I'm discovering within myself and that I'm choosing to step into and carry forward. She really did teach me to use my voice. And what I know now is I'm starting, especially in the travel that I've been doing, and in this rebuild phase of my life, I'm finding all these different pieces and parts of me along the way that were always reflected in her, which is so beautiful. So I want to pause right there and just mention to those of you listening who have family members that have transitioned from this physical life, I want to give you just a little glimmer and maybe a little verbal hug of hope, in the sense that in my experience with my Momoo, just because people physically transition doesn't mean that their presence can't be even more felt beyond that, because that's absolutely how I navigate my days. I see her every day in many different ways that we'll get to later. But when our loved ones transition, friends, they have left so much wisdom, so much love, and reflections of themselves here. And I promise you, they're really hoping that we find them. And so for the skeptic who doesn't believe that, or for the heartbroken who can't quite receive that yet, that's okay. But I do want you to know, when you're ready, all the love and the presence and reflections with and from them, they are here. All we have to do is to be still enough, ask, call their name. I'll say, Momoo, where are you at, girl? I need a hug. I feel so alone today, or in this, or whatever. Where are you? I need to feel you. I need to know you're near. Every single time she shows up. Mostly via small, dainty yellow butterflies specifically. So yeah, I just want to share that with you in hopes that maybe those of you who are seeking and searching for the presence of our loved ones, you may start to find them again and reacquaint yourself with their presence in your life. It's really beautiful. So that is my Momoo. I want to share a couple of my favorite stories with you that just kind of help expand on who she was and how we experienced her. So the first one, this is actually tied to a version of myself that I did not talk about in the previous episodes. But this version of Whitney who, can drop some flowery language every once in a while and who curses, okay? I do, guys, I know. Mom, hold your heart. I'm so sorry. And I haven't told you this, but I do. I curse sometimes. Sometimes there's just no other word, And Momoo was absolutely who taught me that and who also did the same. So in the moments that I'm just, communicating the way my soul needs to, I know Momoo is right there with me and she's not judging me. She is loving on me and carrying me forward. So I say that because one of my favorite memories of her is when I was living in Nashville. I was working in human resources at the time for a small employee-owned company there. And when Mommy was sick and it was after she had been diagnosed with cancer, and she would have follow-up appointments in Nashville. And so my Aunt Tammy would bring her to Nashville, which is about 2-ish hours away from my hometown. And so on this day, they let me know they were coming, and Aunt Tammy was like, "Hey, do you want to grab lunch with us?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." So they come by, they scoop me up, and we go to, I think we went to Panera, and we have our lunch. I'm just loving so much that they visited me in Nashville, and we're on our way back for them to drop me back off at work, and Aunt Tammy's driving, Momoo's in the passenger seat, being passenger princess, and I'm in the middle seat. And Mama was feeling herself this day, and she had, she was just dropping some curse words, and the one specifically that I remember is shit. And after a few, Aunt Tammy was like, "Mama, what has gotten into you? You can't just be out here cursing like this. And so Aunt Tammy's giving her a hard time for cussing. I'm cracking up in the middle seat. And next thing I know, Momoo says, "Now, Tammy," and everything that proceeded to come out of her mouth after that was a 10-minute case on how curse words weren't really curse words. They just added, some beautiful soul, if you will, to the expressions that were being communicated. That was it. And so, oh my God, for 10 minutes went on and on about how cursing wasn't really cursing. And what I remember is being in the middle seat, knowing that I cussed, that I didn't, I hid that part of me from my family. And so I felt so seen and validated in that moment, but also it was just so endearing that my grandmother is basically giving me permission without knowing she's giving me permission to, flower up my language and express myself in a full-bodied way. So I loved that so much. I think I still have the video, or maybe the audio of that moment. Oh my God, it was so funny. Aunt Tammy and I just cracked up. And Mommy she felt it to her core, I'm telling you. There was no question after her 10-minute case that cussing it wasn't cussing. So, and that's what I loved so much in her communication. When she spoke something, guys, you felt it. Because 9 times out of 10, it was the truth. I just don't remember her sharing things that weren't full body and that you felt. She couldn't just throw words to the wind. And so I love that so much about her. Okay, second memory is, I think this might have been 2022 or 2023. We could tell her energy and things were declining. So my Aunt Tammy got us all together, coordinates a day to get family photos taken at her house. So I travel in from Nashville, as every family in the South for sure does. We all had to be in the same color, a specific shade of blue, and that specific shade of blue needed to be in a pinstripe, the color of your pants or your shirt. And if you nailed the monochrome look, you were really doing the most. So we were coordinating this. I come into town, and I wasn't sure like how her spirits were and what kind of energy I would meet her in. And so I walk into the house, and I can tell she looked tired, and she was really showing some signs of fluid retention. And so we were cracking jokes about, what a time to have our photos made, because I felt very bloated for sure. And sis was, I think, just a few months leading up to a year postpartum. And here comes the moment where, oh my God, it makes me laugh right now just thinking about it. Here comes the moment where my sister and I, being the only grandchildren on that side of the family, who adore Momoo, it's our moment to shine. The three of us have been asked to sit on a bench in the backyard at my aunt's. We sit down on the bench, and in classic Momoo fashion, she cracks a joke about her belly, our bellies, and how, oh my God, friends, all I can tell you, I don't remember a thing that came out of her mouth after that joke, because we laughed for what felt like 15 straight minutes. And typically when my sister and I get, tickled or something's funny, we kind of skip the giggle phase and we go into this synchronized cackle phase, which Momoo always met us in and always made her laugh more. So then next thing you know, our laughter's fueling hers and vice versa. And we just laughed. And poor Casey Claiborne, she is an amazing local photographer back in our hometown. And I can't even imagine being in her position while all of this is happening, because our laughter is so full-bodied. Guys, it's not cute, and there's no camera angle that can capture it in anything but what it was, which is just pure absolute joy. And it's so beautiful because she did capture a few photos in that moment, and it's one that I carry with me. I think Aunt Tammy or maybe Mom had gifted one of those photos to Sis and I, and it's one of my favorite memories of her. Because yes, she lived a very hard life. I mean, this woman, as the sole provider to her children and in the marriage, and as someone who maybe didn't experience love in a partnership in a beautiful way, who also took on the role of primary caregiver to her mom. She just had such a heart of service. She really did. And a lot of her life was just hard. It was. There's no other way to describe it. And through all of this woman never failed to show up and bring a smile to your face and make you laugh and speak the truth. And sometimes that truth was hard to hear. And the laughter and the voice and truth part really strikes authentic core pieces of this version of myself. And I consider laughter as one of my main ways of release. Like once I get the giggles, it's just, I'm done for. And it's really beautiful and joyful to release in that way. But also to To carry the lightness is a choice. To carry and to love after such immense events of heartbreak, that's a choice. And Momoo is my mirror of choosing those things when we very easily could have chosen to be manipulative, the victim, the martyr, narcissistic, and all these negative things. No, it's like, no. We get this one life, and we get the free choice in how we want to show up, despite all the things that play out. There is light, there is love, and there is liberation in all of it, but we have to choose that for ourselves. And so that is my Momoo, friends. That is the biggest mirror in my life to date. And with that being said, she really speaks to the power of this energy of the matriarch lineage that we are seeing actively right now in our lifetimes. No matter how old you are, no matter what generation aspect you fall within your family, this rings true for all women. I really, really believe that. And just as Momoo and her legacy, her reflection, honestly, has shaped the Mirrored Muse, every day that we show up and we choose to actively participate and to love and to find the light and to liberate all these different parts of ourselves, we too are shaping the lives of the women who came before us, and for sure those who come after us. So the matriarch lineage, I just want to say to my core, I believe that in every single woman lives a muse. Muse is inspiration. She is a keeper of wisdom, and she is a weaver of dreams. And it's only when we slow down and we minimize these distractions, tune out the external, tune into our heart space and within, that we listen to our intuition. Then we can reflect from our heart space. And then that is how and when we begin to rise in and with love. Period. Full stop. I believe that to my core. I'll say it again. In every woman lives a muse, a keeper of wisdom, a weaver of dreams. When we slow down and listen to our intuition, we can then reflect from our heart space. And collectively, that is how and when we rise in and with love. And it's always it's interesting because my sister and I, our parents were very young when they had us, which is so beautiful because we grew up truly knowing and remembering all of our grandparents and all of our great-grandparents extended both sides. And I've always felt so drawn. Naturally as a daughter and granddaughter, one might be, but it always felt on a deeper level, this pull towards my grandmothers and great-grandmothers. And I believe now those of us who are here, mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, all the different roles that we women play in our family, we have such power and potency to heal our ancestral lineage, because we are the ones who birth the hearts of humans into the world. And with that comes the power and responsibility of that role. And right now in this Aquarian age, again, I am very big in astrology, and we are in this age of Aquarius, which is an active transition from the solar plexus, which men give from the solar plexus chakra. That has shaped the patriarchy for years, okay? But right now, we are given this opportunity where we are transitioning out of that solar plexus phase, if you will, and we're moving into the heart chakra, the heart space, which means we are going to see the shift. And we're already actively seeing this, but we're going to see women start to step into their power and into their voice, into their presence in all these different capacities. And this is why, because women are the givers of the heart space and men receive. Masculine receives from the heart space. So the energy of this matriarch lineage is so potent right now. And what's really interesting, so a couple days ago on the 12th, I was gearing up, trying to plan and prep as much as possible for this launch. I've never done this before. So I'm like, what do I need to do? What do I need to consider? X, Y, Z, all the details. And something just caused me to pause. And I felt this prompt of, you need to pull a card. And so I often will pull from Oracle decks. And the first deck that I pulled from that I ever bought for myself is the Rose Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Oracle decks, these cards, it's basically a tool that we can use that helps us tune into our intuition. It's really beautiful. I highly, highly recommend. I know it feels wonky or weird or too woo-woo at first, or whatever those negative feelings are. Please move past those, because Oracle cards for us ladies, especially those of us in transitionary seasons and are looking to tap into our intuition, they, hands down, I would recommend them. Highly, highly recommend them. So anyways, I'm here in Spain. My dear friend has this exact same deck, except it's in Spanish, which makes it even more beautiful, actually. So I grab her deck, I go to the couch, and my method of pulling cards, there's many out there, but I just shuffle, and typically once I close my eyes, tune into my heart space, the cards just fly out of the deck. Sometimes it's one card, sometimes it's 2, 3, it just depends. So in this moment, I close my eyes, I'm tapping into my heart space, I'm taking deep breaths, and immediately a card flies out of the deck. Guys, I cannot make this up. The card that comes out of the deck reads La Abuelas, which in English is the grandmothers. This is 2 days ago, okay? And the minute I saw that, oh my God, I felt the lump in my throat. The tears were coming, because I know that that's Momoo's presence. I know that's her coming through. And so I want to take just a second and read to you all the description of this card, because it is so beautiful. So this is from, again, the Rose Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell, and it is the grandmother's card. The key themes around this card reflect remembering your roots, perspective, and trust the weavings. The description reads, the rose was here long before you and me, and long before humanity itself. She holds within her the rememberings of civilizations past, roots that reach back for millions of years and hold the codes of creation. They carry with them the songs of the ancient grandmothers of the earth. When this card appears in a spread, it's an invitation to reach all the way back, to go forward, to reach your deepest roots in order to soar high. The ancient grandmothers are calling for you to remember the wisdom of your ancestry, long before colonialism severed so much that's sacred, before the rise and fall of empires and entire civilizations, all the way back to the origins of humanity. They're calling you to play your part in this time of healing, to heal and to integrate what you've inherited in your ancestral line. It's not personal. These are changing, healing times that we came here for, to reconnect and reach all the way back to the original mother, and to see our role as the ancestors of those who are yet to come. To remain grounded and rooted in your life so that no matter how rocky things get, you always know that you are home. And for each of these cards, so that was the description that I just read to you. And with each of these cards, there's what the author calls a rose transmission, which is really sometimes just a ritual or affirmation. I thought this was really beautiful because for this one it reads, I reach my roots all the way back to go forward. I call upon the sacred strength and support of my ancestors who did not forget to be with me now. And I acknowledge the difficulties and what's coming up to be healed, and I do so for all who are yet to come. Friends, this card, just debunking this card within itself could be an episode on its own. But this is so powerful in the timing and in the affirmation of Momoo's presence, in the validation of me stepping into my own voice, which I was taught by Momoo. But this isn't just about me as one woman in the world who's choosing to do this. There are women all over the world right now, as you're listening to this, being prompted to do the exact same thing. In whatever that way, whatever that platform or healing modality or tool in their tool belt that they're being asked to use, this is a collective calling. And our grandmothers have served such a powerful purpose in our own becoming. They hold up a mirror to us that reflects really significant parts of ourselves that maybe we've forgotten, maybe we have suppressed, maybe even parts of ourselves that for a long time we've chosen to dislike and push aside for the sake of something else outside of us. And so I find it really important right now in this moment to acknowledge this collective calling and acknowledge the fact that you too are a part of that. So what's calling you? And who is that muse for you? That matriarch muse. Who is she in your life? Name her. Get to know her again in these different energies and ways that they can exist in your life. Because I promise how I feel the presence of Momoo now, it has not only been immensely healing on this journey that I have been choosing to take, which is really just day after day following my intuition and what it is prompting me to do, which is exactly how I'm sitting in Spain right now, speaking into my phone to you, is by following those prompts. And those prompts very oftentimes have been validated and confirmed by the presence of my Momoo. And she shows up in yellow dainty butterflies. They're everywhere here. In my morning walk to the ocean, they are all along this path where on one side there's a farm, which to me represents fertility, tending to the earth. And then on the other side of this path is the highway, which is movement, the journey, the in-between. You're not here, you're not there, you're just in motion. So to me, it validates this being carried by Momoo in this season. I dream with her all the time. She shows up in my dreams all the time. I see her birth date, literally, either 0614 or 061, I think it's 61445. That's what it is. On license plates or on receipts. These are just a very few ways of how I experience my matriarchal muse showing up in my life. Now, yours could look very different, but we don't know until we slow down and we really start to ask for their presence in our lives. And I promise you, after you ask for their presence, their presence will be more than gifted to you. We just have to slow down and look for it. So, I have to be completely honest, guys. Last night and yesterday was an absolute mess. I had so much fear and doubt and discomfort for sure. Just this lump in my throat of, oh my God, I just felt everything. The fear, the unworthiness, the anxious spiral of, oh God, is it enough? Am I even going to make sense? Just fear. And I had all of this whole to-do list of things I wanted to get done in preparation for the launch. And I can tell you, I did absolutely none of those things. None of them. And at one point I was like, I just need to go sit by the ocean. I had a dozen white roses with me that I needed to release. So I go by the ocean, I'm sitting there, and I release the white roses in honor of Momoo and all the mothers in the world that have come before us specifically. And I walked home and just no energy to do any of the things that I felt like I should do or that I needed to do to prep for launching my voice into the world. And it's so beautiful because on the same path as I was walking back from the ocean where I just had released the petals, yellow butterflies everywhere. I mean, they're always there, right? Like a couple. But this time, yesterday, it was, friends, I think I counted 17. And no, it was not the same butterfly just coming in and out. I promise you that. Because this time it was like the small dainty yellow butterflies and the big yellow monarch butterflies. And I really, if ever there was a moment that I needed to feel the presence of Momoo and the presence of my own matriarch lineage, it was then. And so I want to give voice to that fear. And if you're feeling fear too in some sort of capacity, acknowledge its presence and remind the fear of your power. Remind the fear of your power, because the only purpose of the fear is to comfort the ego, our ego. And fear comforts the ego by convincing one to stay in the same place, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, or energetically. That's how fear is comforted. By staying in the same place, by not doing the thing that feels scary, that you're being called to do. It's real evidence. Fear is the real evidence that you're close to something real, something meaningful, something purposeful. So I do just want to, I do, for those of you feeling the fear, just acknowledge it and move through it. And maybe that looks like not doing a single thing on the list of to-dos like I did. It can look a million different ways. Just don't let it keep you stuck in the same relationship, in the same home, in the same place in your career, in the same career, in whatever way that looks like for you. Just move through it. Choose love. I ask that you choose love. And for me, choosing love looked like taking the nap, not doing the thing, having conversations with friends that I hadn't spoke to in weeks upon weeks, and going to bed. And I woke up this morning and Momoo greeted me first thing. I felt her presence and energy so near. So sometimes the most sacred, productive thing we can do is not do anything and just be and acknowledge and feel. So I say all of these things, friends, and I want to speak to the meaning of the Mirrored Muse because Momoo has helped me actively birth this. I created this podcast. I've created the Mirrored Muse as a place of reflections. Sometimes that looks like a mirror. Sometimes that looks like the joy of a disco ball. There's so many different reflections that are waiting for our discovery. And in these reflections, there's an inevitable rise of the matriarch, of the feminine. And once we realize this, there's absolutely the very real responsibility for both acknowledging the reflections and taking the steps to rise. The symbolism of the mirror is so powerful. And the muse being the inspiration behind the mirror, it's always self. For me, it's been me all along. It's been me in the sense of my journey, my path, my decisions, my bloodline, my lineage, and the same is true for you. I do mention some future goals that I've set for the Mirrored Muse podcast, as far as the different types of episodes that I'm planning, which I'm really excited about. That is described in the intro and the trailer. So you'll want to bop over and give a listen to that. And this is a really fun creation, friends. And I sit in awe and in so much gratitude and love right now in this moment on Momoo's birthday. And I think what I feel most is the liberation of not just my voice. Yes, I'm using my voice, but the liberation that I feel in my matriarch lineage for everything that they wanted to say that maybe they couldn't, that now I'm given the opportunity to do so. And the liberation of getting to show up and choosing to show up in the most authentic way possible. So with all of this being said, I have just a couple things that I want to share before we end today's little chat, and that is a closing reflection, and then I wrote a little dedication to Momoo that I'd like to share with you. So before I share that little heartfelt message and dedication to my Momoo on her birthday, and to all the grandmothers and mothers who've birthed the hearts of humanity into the world, I want to ask you 2 things. 1, to take a moment today to remember a woman in your family or your life who shaped you. Name her and just whisper thank you. Because our stories didn't start with us, and honoring them is a way we can come back home to ourselves, which is what we're being actively called to do. Name her, thank her. The second thing I want to ask is, what would it sound like to use your voice a little more bravely today, just today? Whether it's a truth you've held in, a laugh you've stifled, or maybe a boundary you've softened. Let this be the day you let your voice be heard. All right, now to Momoo. My dearest Momoo, today on what would have been your 80th birthday, I'm offering this podcast as a living prayer to your legacy. You were one of the first muses I ever knew. A woman of absolute fire and grit who endured more than most hearts could ever imagine. And you still found a way to laugh loudly, whole bodily, and from the belly. You taught me that strength doesn't always look soft. Sometimes it's wrapped in sass, sharp wit, and an unshakable knowing of who you are. You raised 2 humans on your own. You survived the heartbreak and still chose to love, still chose to give so generously, still chose to use your voice unapologetically. And that voice, it echoes in mine. You were the mirror who showed me that even the hardest lives can be painted into beautiful canvases. That resilience is art. And that a woman who dares to speak, to feel, to create can never truly be silenced. Thank you, Momoo, for the golden thread of laughter that runs through our lineage, for teaching me to stand tall, speak true, and love so hard. For your prayers of freedom you spoke while on this earth, and that I am actively getting to live now. Your legacy is not just remembered, it is reborn in every word I offer here. For everything you said, and everything maybe you didn't and couldn't say. This is for you. This is for us. This is the Mirrored Muse. Ooh, okay, friends. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your time, for joining this moment, this mirror and movement of remembering. If this episode moved or sparked something within you, I would be so jazzed and honored if you'd share it, leave a review, or invite a friend into the conversation. For now, we're actively starting to build our community on our Instagram page. There you will be able to find in the future, hopefully near future, more reflections, resources, and members of the community there. And that is at the Mirrored Muse. So until next time, stay wild, stay soft, and never forget, you are the muse.